In our first evening, our subject was the nature of God. And you saw clearly that God is infinite being, the being of all, whether appearing as man, birds, animals, trees, flowers, fruits. God is infinite being, all-inclusive being, including within itself all phenomena, that is, all existence, all so-called creation. But since most men agree on that, and the understanding of that has not brought peace on earth and goodwill toward man, there must be a missing link. And in the first hour of tonight's program, tonight's class, I gave you that missing link. God is infinite. God is universal being, the life and mind and soul of all being. But I am that. In other words, there is no God, infinite being, separate and apart from my being. And only when I begin to understand God as my being can I rest from the mental and physical activities that produce wars, lawsuits, fights, arguments, racial, religious, national bigotries, biases, prejudices. Only in the recognition of God as individual being can I rest and know that since all goodness flows to me from within, there is no man and there is no God that can give it to me or withhold it from me. Can't you see that every discord and inharmony of existence is based on the belief of a God and a you and a me? Can't you see how wonderful it is for us to be here together in this room, seeking nothing of each other, desiring nothing of each other, because we are all here in the realization of God as the source and fount of our good. Do you remember my asking you to realize that you were in a desert, far from all human help, and then to realize that your oneness with God was your real abiding place, your safety and security, and the source of your provision? Well, do you see now that you didn't even need to contact a practitioner or a teacher? You were what we would call self-sufficient. When I say self-sufficient, I spell self with a capital S. In other words, the God self was your sufficiency. The place whereon you stand is holy ground. And that constitutes your self-sufficiency. so are we gathered here in this room, in the realization of our self-sufficiency. I explained to you that in a measure I have realized God as the source of my being. I have realized God as the intelligence flowing through me. I have realized God as the source of my supply. I have realized God as the activity of the organs and functions of my body. And so you see, without any thought of requiring help from you, or even through you, I sit here to share this unfoldment, this truth, this divine life and love which flows as my being. But then you see, I call to your attention that you are here in that same name, in that same nature. And I repeat to you that you, sitting there, are one with us in this room, and yet completely independent of us. Since the very place whereon you stand is holy ground in your oneness with the infinite source and nature of your being. And so you are in this room not to get something, not because others want something of you, but because you have been drawn here in the realization of your oneness with God. And because of that realization of your oneness with God, your oneness with all of us. In this consciousness, is there any reason for us to sue each other, fight each other, dislike each other, hate or war with each other? Could there be racial, national prejudice or bias in this room if each of us is truly realizing our true identity as children of God, as offspring of the one creative principle? You know the answer to all that. And so now I bring again to your attention the fact that we are to usher in peace on earth, goodwill toward man. But not by proselyting, not by telling the world that it ought to be more loving, more just, more kind, more tolerant. Oh, that will never do. No individual can rise higher than their own consciousness of that moment. And so, rather than preach to the world, we will withdraw within our own being. They realize that since God is the infinite nature of my being, and all good is inherent in my being because of that, that I need not look to man whose breath is in his nostril. I find myself in self-completeness, self-satisfaction, self-sufficiency. Since that self of me is God. In my realization of that, my attitude toward my neighbors, my community, is one of love. I don't have to be loving. I can't help being loving if, in the realization of my self-sufficiency, I can realize that I can feed 4,000, 5,000, 7,000, that I can heal multitudes. I don't look to any man for anything. And that attitude itself is one of love. Because I am not seeking anything of him or from him. Do not wish to deprive him of anything. Do not ask him to share with me. Why? Well, in my realization of self-sufficiency, I can share with all of the world. Don't you know, or rather, don't you believe that fishes and loaves will be multiplied through my state of consciousness? Don't you believe that I can feed the multitudes and heal the multitudes? Through the realization of God as the source of infinite good? Well, that is your relationship at this moment to this world. Understanding that I and the Father are one, that the infinity of God is embraced within your individual consciousness, don't you feel the desire to share that? Not share the knowledge of it, share the abundance of it with all those who seem to be separate and apart from their good. I say not share the knowledge of it. You know what I mean. Of course you want to share the knowledge of it with those who come to you for it, as I am sharing this knowledge of it with you, as I share it in my writings, in my tape recordings. But do you notice, I make no attempt to share it with the world. I merely loose it and let it go, and let those prepared for it find it. With those who come to me, I will share this knowledge. With those who do not seek me out, I will merely share the fruitage of this knowledge, so that if I find my neighbor lacking money or food or clothing or healing, I'm so very grateful to share out of this infinite storehouse. But with those ready for the unfoldment, I'm ready to give the more important thing, not the dollars, not the healings, not the food, not the clothing, but the secret of their source. The secret of the source of infinite good is the understanding of God as individual being. God as individual you. Then rest, relax, and let this infinite good flow forth from you. I know that you can't realize it at this moment, but you will later in the week. But what has been voiced up to this moment is prayer. Did you know that I was praying? Did you know that this entire 12 minutes has been a prayer, or what in metaphysical language is called a treatment? Did you know that? Had you realized it? Yes. I have been praying. I have been realizing the truth. I have been knowing the truth. I have been communing with God with truth. That is prayer. And be assured of this. This prayer is answered even before it was uttered. It was answered. Every time that we, in the silence of our being, realize God as the source, the center, the circumference of this universe, we are praying. And that prayer appears in this world as peace, harmony, wholeness, completeness, perfection, abundance, safety, security, life more abundant. What we silently know of the true nature of our being is shouted from the housetops in the appearance of health, wealth, opportunity, joy. It is for this reason that in the infinite way we are taught not to go around making metaphysical statements and cliches as if thereby we were adding something to the world. Know the truth silently. Know the truth of God as individual being. Know it silently. Know it within yourself. And let the fruitage appear as health to the other fellow, as opportunity, as good. In all of this, there is a word of caution that I must give you. And this word of caution has caused considerable distress to many. To some it has been confusing because it seems to set up two beings. I know that before this week is over you will realize that there is only one. But let me caution you at this point. If you think that you have an understanding of truth, you're making a very great mistake. If you believe that you are going to achieve an understanding of truth, you're making a great mistake. If you believe that this class is going to increase your knowledge of truth, give up that belief. If you are in hopes of gaining an understanding of God, of truth, of love, of life, give up that hope now, won't you? The world has been trying to understand God, to understand truth, for thousands of years and has lost the way. And you know why? It isn't possible for you to know the truth. It isn't possible for me to know the truth. Don't think for a moment that I know it. Only too well do I know that I know nothing. God alone understands truth. God alone understands its own creation, its own formation, the laws of its own being. That understanding God expresses as our individual being, as our understanding, as our integrity. It may help you to understand what I'm saying if I recall to you that the Master said, "Why callest thou me good?" There is but one good, the Father in heaven. You see, the belief that you or I have understanding is egotistic. It sets up an ego or selfhood apart from God. You will be faced with great problems in this world. They may not be problems of your health or your business. You may, through your conscious realization of God, avoid the inharmonies, discords of this world. You may fulfill the 91st Psalm by abiding in the secret place of the Most High. No evil may come nigh your dwelling place. That doesn't mean that you won't be faced with tremendous problems in life. They will be the problems of your relatives, friends, neighbors, maybe even of your nation. You see, Moses achieved the realization, I am that I am. But see what he faced in taking the Hebrew people through 40 years of desert experience, of wilderness experience, until he brought them face to face with the promised land. Certainly you know that Jesus realized his at-one-ment or oneness with the Father. You know that he lived and moved and had his being always in God consciousness. And yet see his experience in his 3-year ministry, culminating in the depths in Gethsemane, at Calvary, in the tomb. So you too, in your abiding at the center of your being, your abiding in the realization of your God being, will have no further human problems of your own. But because of the great light that you now are, your neighbors will come to you with their problems. Your community may come to you. Your nation may call upon you. As Joseph, Moses, Elijah, Jesus, Paul, you may be called upon to solve their problems. And here let me tell you that the first thought that comes into your mind will be this: I haven't enough understanding. That was Moses' first thought. I am slow of speech. How can I tell these things to my people? But God says, I will put the words in your mouth. And so, as problem after problem presents itself to you, especially what the world calls the more serious ones, in the depth of your humility, you are going to be compelled to say, I haven't enough understanding. I do not know how to go out or to come in. And in that realization lies your salvation. Truly, you don't know enough, and you never will. You don't understand enough, and you never will. All the reading of my writings, all of my classwork, is aimed at the destruction of the egotistic self that believes that it knows something that can do something, that it has power to overcome or to destroy or to feed. No. Come into my circle. Realize with me here and now, Father, I can of my own self do nothing. I do not even know anything. Father, take over. It is thy understanding, thy presence, and thy power that is the salvation of this world. Glad am I to know that that presence and that power is within me, is the reality of my own being. But the eye that calls itself Joel can of itself do nothing. I tell you this for two reasons. One is that when you realize that you haven't enough understanding to meet this or that problem, do not be discouraged. Do not give up hope, because in that realization lies your salvation. In that moment of self-abnegation, when you realize that you haven't enough wisdom, power, understanding, you will relax and you will let yourself be overshadowed by the divine will, the divine love, the divine life, the Christ. And then you will behold that invisible, that silent invisible, opens Red Seas, multiplies loaves and fishes, raises from the tomb. The second reason I tell it to you is this. The sense of I that would claim to know or to understand is the very self-same I that would accomplish, achieve, that would seek for itself. In spiritual living, there is no room for self-aggrandizement. There is no room for setting oneself up as something apart from one's neighbor. There is no room in spiritual living for the belief of God being more to one than to another. You might ask here then, why is it that one can do greater works than another? One can do better healing than another, and so forth. The answer is that in the degree of realization of God as individual being, and of the nothingness of that which appears outwardly as a human, in the degree of that realization, more of the God power is made manifest. Shall I bring to your remembrance the fact that a daisy is not more beautiful than an orchid? That one ocean is not greater than another ocean? That one star is naught else than a star, and that all stars are stars? That no one tree is more of a tree than another tree, no more beautiful. Each is individual. God manifests in infinite form and variety, in infinite forms of beauty and utility, but no one can say that one is greater than another, and so with us. No one individual is greater than another. Why? Because God is the selfhood of all of us. But in the degree of our realization of that, do we bring forth spiritual fruitage? What I am warning against is an egotistic sense of understanding or of power. I'm warning against permitting yourself to believe when someone says, "Oh, thou good master." I'm cautioning you not to accept that title. When someone says to you, "What wonderful understanding you have," do not accept that. Or even if the temptation comes to you to be grateful that you have such wisdom and understanding, refute it. God is your understanding. God is your goodness. In that humility, in that realization of God as all, you will heal, you will enrich, you will save, but not you. So again, this is not setting up two. No, not any more than when John Barrymore plays the part of Hamlet and dresses in the costume of Hamlet. There are not two. There's just one. And that one is John Barrymore. Oh, he may appear today as Hamlet. He may appear tomorrow as Macbeth. It's still John Barrymore. And so there is not an immortal you and a mortal you. There is only an immortal you, a divine you. But in proportion to the world belief of a selfhood apart from God, today you seem to be playing the part of a healthy person. Tomorrow you seem to be playing the part of a sick person. The next day you will play the part of a poor person, and still another day the part of a rich person, but don't believe it. There's only one person, and that is the infinite, immortal, eternal you. Now, you do not have to play all of these different parts in life. Those parts are given to humans because of a universal mesmerism, a universal belief of a selfhood apart from God. But that is dispelled for you in your study of the infinite way. The study and practice of the infinite way dispels for you the belief that you are a selfhood apart from God, that you have an entity or identity apart from the One. And by ascribing all power, all knowledge, all wisdom to that infinite, invisible you, you are enabled to die daily to limitation. And you are enabled to be reborn of the Spirit, reborn in the consciousness of your true identity, showing forth the full glory of God. By now, of course, you realize that all of this, up to this moment, is prayer, is communion, is knowing the truth, leading to what? To the realization of truth. These thoughts that I have been expressing here, these statements that I have been making, this message that has been coming through my lips, this is the Word of God. This is the Word of truth. Therefore, it is prayer, treatment, communion. And as you listen, whether tonight, or whether you listen to it again on the recordings another night, or whether you read it in books, since ultimately it will be published, or whether in your own silent meditation there will come a moment of realization in which you say, oh, now I feel it, I understand, I know it, God is the real of me. God is the power. In that moment of realization, you have the Pentecostal experience, the descent of the Holy Ghost, the enveloping in the robe. Then you fulfill Paul's great revelation, I live, yet not I. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. That moment when you come to the realization that, yes, I'm living in this world. Yes, I am eating, drinking, sleeping, playing, loving, enjoying, and yet I know it's not I. I feel this presence within me. I feel this constant companionship of the Spirit. I feel the constant love as it flows between me and all those who are on the spiritual path, those who understand that I have died to selfishness, to self-aggrandizement, to self-will. How wonderful it is, how beautiful it is to be with those whose only aim in life is to let this divine spark show itself forth in glory. You see, life takes on a new meaning. We're no longer human beings using some truth for the purpose of gratifying some human desire. Now we've lost all human desire, all human wishes, all human will, and come in some measure into a realization of our divinity and of the meaning of the kingdom of God. The master couldn't use his power to turn stones into bread any more than he could use his power to set up the Hebrews as against the Romans. The master knew there is a spiritual kingdom. My kingdom is not of this world. Don't try for improved this world. Adding more dollars to you isn't the secret. Adding a better heart or liver or lung, that is not the secret. Seek ye the kingdom of God. All these things will be added unto you. You'll have heart, liver, lungs. You'll have business. You'll have money, home, companionship. Only don't seek them. Seek the realization of God as your real being. Seek the realization of God as the very fiber of this universe, as the only law in this universe. It will help you if occasionally you revert to the first commandment. You see, in your human experience, you're going to meet two powers. At least that will be the appearance, that will be the suggestion, that will be the claim. A power that we call God, but a power that we call false appetite, wrong desire, a power that we call disease, accident, ignorance, a power that we call alcohol, a power that we call bad government. Yes, yes. You're going to meet all those, but it'll help you if you realize that they come to you only as an appearance, as a temptation. Ah, there's the word, temptation. It was called a temptation when Jesus was an hungered. You see, it wasn't hunger at all, it was temptation. And so you are going to be tempted to witness something that claims to have power to cause disease, to cause sin, to cause death, to cause bad business, to cause depression. You must stand fast in the first commandment and acknowledge not only that God is the only power, but God is my being. Therefore, all power is given unto me by grace. God has given man dominion. And so you see, you, that infinite invisible, that Christ of your being, that spiritual being, is the power. Over what? Over sin, disease, death, lack, limitation? No. The Master cautioned us. Don't rejoice that you have power over evil, because there is no evil. There is no power in evil. Rejoice only that your names are writ in heaven. Rejoice only that you now know that there is only one power, and I am that. I, in the center of me, that real spiritual selfhood, spelled with a capital S. That divinity of my being is the power. I carry that power with me wherever I go, yea, if I go down into hell. That power goes with me, and it takes the heat out of the flames. Yes, if I go into deep waters, I take that power with me, and it takes the wetness out of the water. Do you see I and the Father are one? Do you see God as individual being? That infinite good power flowing through you, as you, performing its miracles of work in proportion as you do not accept appearances for reality. As you are able to look at every form of sin, every form of disease, every form of lack or limitation or bad politics or bad politicians, and not judge them, not condemn them. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. They are accepting appearances as reality. Only in proportion as you can accept God as the only power and accept God as your individual being, only in that proportion can you feed the multitudes and heal the multitudes. Did you notice that not once in this period of nearly 2 hours have I reached out to heal anyone, improve anyone, reform anyone? And yet, be assured that before this week is over, you will discover that some in this room and others in our consciousness at this moment have experienced healings or reformations or enrichments. And do you know why? Because of the realization of God as one power, and the realization of God as individual you and me. God as individual being. God as the only law. That is why God cannot give and God cannot withhold. God is. There is no power of giving. There is no power of withholding. God is. And so we are not seeking, searching. We are here in complete relaxation, divinely grateful that we have learned that God is in the midst of us. God is indeed our very being. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Yes, thou art my very being. Thou makest me to lie down in green pastures. Even though sometimes I struggle pretty hard to get away from them. But now I rest. Thank you. Thank you, and aloha.